Hello everyone, welcome to a video about cards. We're going to be delving deep into the Breakthrough Catalyst mini expansion, 24 cards, 4 for each main nation, 2 for Italy and France, giving a 1 to 5 star rating for each card, 1 being trash, 5 being freaking amazing card. With me is Scout Shout, a popular cards streamer, as well as a player since the very beginning. Scout, what do we got here?
Hello there. Hello. And this is Vinny. He makes these lovely star rating videos, which, I'm personally excited to see more of these. I very much like the first one. And also a pretty dominant force on the ladder I've seen, even, what is it, coming up in the upcoming OCC?
Yeah, the OCC on the 13th of March, so we're not even going to have 2 full days to test
Oh
these.
my.
Yeah, to test these new cards. So really, we are not sure what's going to be good or bad in only 2 days, I think. If you want to really find out, then you're going to want to watch that OCC on the 13th on Twitch to find out what are the best players actually going to be utilizing from this new set. So let's get it started out with the Dinah, the Key 46 Dinah 3. I mean, this can't possibly be bad just drawing 2 cards, right?
Have a little insider information as I am an internal tester, so I kind of already played a lot of these cards already, and I found this card was quite nice in combo decks.
Oh, okay, but like what's the win condition there? Because you can't do this in autocannon, right? Of course, because autocannon being an elite and this also being an elite. So what's the plan?
See, you may not be able to use the autocannon. However, this thing can guarantee a first signal regiment draw, which is a very good replacement.
Okay, okay.
So you still use the rush productions, and what Japan has is a lot of units with HQ damage dealing on
True.
destruction effects, which pairs really nice with the first signal and the rush productions.
On like 33rd Recon, the 1-2, does that draw you 2 cards when you kill it with rush production, or does it only draw you one? Because if it draws you two, that kind of gets you quite a bit in your deck.
The 33rd Recon,
Yeah.
that will draw you 2 cards, one for each damage.
Okay. And yeah, like you have a lot of 1 HP destruction effect units in Japan. I see what you're saying here.
It is very close to it, and especially with another card that is in here, it also helps it greatly.
To draw through the whole deck in 1 turn. Okay, well, I mean, we'll get on to that. I mean, the card is definitely pretty promising. Like in regular Japanese aggro, though, I don't think you really play this. I think you have enough draw mostly.
Uh, Maybe. Probably not in most Jagro decks. Maybe.
Maybe like
hmm
yeah, maybe you could do it in the Soviet one or like some sort of Alpine with Italy ally.
I think this card is great for tutoring those very valuable one drops, like maybe bicycle regiments or again first signal regiment in more
Maybe
calculated decks.
yeah, or maybe like some sort of Blitzkrieg combo. As of right now, though, I don't know how good that OTK Japanese deck will be. So 3 stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I would put it at a 3. It's pretty niche.
On to number 3, Commando. 3/3 infantry. Units with 5 or more attack cannot attack. And it's a British special. So, what do you think about this one, Scout?
This card's pretty interesting. Obviously, there is the chance for it to completely brick an opponent. However, that chance is very slim. I don't think this card is too strong. It's definitely like a pretty weak body for an infantry
A
for its
very,
cause,
a very weak body for an infantry.
but maybe with some countermeasures, a guard protecting it, it could really put your opponent in a sticky situation if set up correctly.
It could. I could end up being quite wrong about this, but for like delaying you in a commando deck, it kind of ruins your own rule Britannia though, and you have no way to kill this off on your own. 3/3 for an infantry for 3 is really quite bad, and I mean maybe in a Commonwealth deck and not so much a rule Britannia deck, but as for just the base stat line, it's so bad, and you don't even want to drop it directly on 3 because it could just get killed right away.
Yeah, it could also be nice in decks where maybe you want to go wide. with maybe you don't really have like a single unit with a really high attack. It's just a lot of moderately statted units going wide, and this will stop maybe some of your opponent's later things from being able to handle you.
Personally, I'm not seeing it in a deck like that because this is just another unit that is going to die to carpet bombing, and it doesn't stop orders in any way, shape, or form. Like the big attack units are not really how you deal with the AOE anyway.
Mm, yeah, I was gonna say a 3 or a 2 myself, but again, other cards in the expansion that could also support this, perhaps dealing with that AOE problem you mentioned.
Yeah, two stars from me. Let's move on to the 117th Zhytomyr. Basically a 6/5. It's a 6/5 ambush infantry because it has the text, your units with ambush deal double damage. And this is a very intriguing card to me because, I mean, double damage on just a 5-drop? Things like Shiden might just kill you out of nowhere with this Zhytomyr drop. And any like board centric counteroffensive deck, I think, could struggle with the ambush a lot. Like artillery and bomber decks, no, not really at all. But certain decks like that, like counteroffensive, which are in the meta, I think actually don't like this.
Or even the new Commando card.
Oh, well, yeah, the new Commando card. Well, the new Commando card wouldn't even stop this from attacking because it doesn't even directly increase the stat on the card, right? Because it says it's still going to say 3 attack, but it's going to be dealing 6 damage. So things like Lion for a day or the Commando actually won't ruin your day with the Zhytomyr. And I see this being kind of cool on like AT gun for Soviet artillery.
Mm-hmm. Like that could be very scary.
Or just bigger damaging units like the planes from Japan.
I think this card alone definitely adds a lot to the ambush archetype, just for the ability that it can suddenly double the attack of almost everything on your board. That alone is very good. On its own, like just looking at it as a unit on its own, like you said, it's effectively a 6/5 with ambush for 5k. Not really great vanilla stats on an infantry, but yeah.
I like it. I mean, I think that this card can't be that bad. There's not very many good ambush.
Yeah, things like Zero come to mind.
Right, which isn't played right now, but this card could be so good that it brings Zero back. And while there's not like that many good ambush units, like Shiden, 4 zeros, 2
Some
Kagos.
ideas I've had with this card are even a Katusha with a bunch of final pushes, and then you use the 1/3 pincer ambush, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah, this totally seems like it could work in some OTK decks, but it doesn't feel like it has to be exclusively for that. And something that GK Zukov mentioned was,
ooh,
does this work with
that's
KV1? Will it increase the damage that KV1 does if you give it ambush with the 3/1 and play Phony War? That's a 12k combo that pretty much kills your opponent 100% of the time. But I don't know if it works like that.
that's very interesting. That makes me think it might even work with commandos as well.
If you give a commando,
Or,
or wait, that the elite commando has ambush. That's true.
mm-hmm.
Ooh, this card is pretty spicy. I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you as well. That could be a 4-star just for the potential of it.
Yeah, 4 stars for me on the Zhytomyr. Next, we got La Decima. Tell us about this guy, Scout.
La Decima, the 8k, 1 operation 2/4 ambush guard from Italy. It destroys an enemy unit in the support line when it's deployed. Now, this card is, first of all, the art is pretty badass, gotta say. Definitely my favorite art of the
Agree.
expansion. And I think this solidifies Italy as just a primo control ally. You know, that's their instant destroy card arsenal is just so vast now for what they have. I don't know. I think it's great. This is like a B17 tier card, I think.
Oh, I can't possibly agree with that. I think that B17 and Avenger, um, although they're not targeted removal, I think that they are a lot better than this card because they actually have good bodies. And this card is neither the bombers nor this card, in my opinion, are good against aggro because they're so expensive. But at least the bombers help clear future threats, and they kind of need to be removed, or at the very least, they can help you race. This guy's body is so weak at only 2-4.
Hmm. But I agree, the body definitely is a little on the lighter side. However, maybe this could complement B-17s in like a ramp deck or something, and just once you hit that critical mass with US ramp, you could plop these down, all the other Italian removals, and all of a sudden that's just ooh.
Yeah, that would be a very, very greedy deck, but it could be it would be really terrifying in a super control v control matchup with all this high tempo destruction that you have, like Lion for a Day and Human Torpedo.
Yeah, I think when Lion for a Day was added too. Yeah.
Yeah, the my issue with this is that it's still an Italian card, and maybe this and the other card coming up will finally make Italy like a real ally that you could see yourself playing in control. But like they don't have AOE if you play this with US, and then what do you do against the?
I think maybe in the future we may see the body on this thing get buffed. That's just one of my predictions. The body is a little underwhelming.
I'll try it. I'm definitely gonna try it, but yeah, if this just +1/1, amazing card, I think. Like, because the ambush on a 2 attack guy, it's like, come on, how often is that really gonna matter? But if this were a 3/5, I would see this card being really good. For right now, though, because it's just like Human Torpedo, but you're paying 3K for this 2/4 body on Human Torpedo. And Human Torpedo is not a good card right now. The card itself is fine, but it's like an Italian card.
Yeah, personally, I'd give it 3
Yeah,
as well.
3 stars for me. Now the fucking Wolf 190 Jadgbomber, 5/4 plane, costing 5, and let's just cut right to the chase here. 5-star card. Deployment, return an enemy ground unit to the owner's hand. Not really anything fancy or exciting, but just compare this with RAF Lightning. RAF Lightning is a 5-star card. It's a 3/5 plane, and it retreats. It doesn't return it completely to the hand. Now, this you have to use on a ground unit, but you're going to imagine bouncing all the way a front-lined counter-offensive unit, or just some big, thick guy that you paid a lot to move to the front line.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and the stat line is barely bad. Like a 5/5 is passable, and this is only -1 health.
it being that it is German, I would even compare it to something like Admiral Hipper, which is a 5K return to hand order. But this comes with a fighter attached. Granted, it's restricted to ground units, but
Yeah, and 5 attack I think is like such an important break point for these cards, because that's 4 attacks from a 5 attacks units. It kills a HQ.
Definitely. Yeah, I would give it 5 stars as well. It's one of the few just universally great cards.
Yeah, let me scroll down to the HD versions here. You want to try to pronounce this one? Because I mean, I don't really know.
I don't speak French.
Hey man, well, me neither. But all right, well, here's the Bloch MV.152, and cool card, good card, but Mobilize is so bad that I don't know if this is enough.
I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I don't think this is enough to bring Mobilize anywhere. It's not a bad fighter with the vanilla stats, 2-3 with heavy armor for 3K. It's not terrible, but those Mobilize units, they're just so weak when they come out. Like oftentimes they don't even get damaged; they just outright get removed. So this is a tough call.
Yeah, and things like your big swingers for that deck, like the Charbides or whatever, turns out you don't even draw a card if it's just removed or bounced or anything like that. So, well, I guess you would never draw a card because it would never lose Mobilize, right? Well, that's kind of weird to think about. And then also that artillery could never attack the back line. That's actually kind of funny. But yeah, having heavy armor, being able to play a heavy armor unit so early is pretty nice. So at least there's a decent chance that this survives if you're just straight up playing it out there as a tempo play. And
Yeah,
it's just so good, and I want Mobilize to work, but Mobilize, the archetype is so bad that I can't. There's almost no way this becomes a tier 1 deck just thanks to this card. But I do like the card, so I'm gonna give it a 3 stars out of hope. Maybe not being able to lose Mobilize will be actually really strong, because now order spam doesn't just end your entire army.
Yeah, I think everything around the card needs a lot of help. And then maybe this one will be a lot better in the future, but 3 stars for now.
All right, cool. And now the most talked about card of the set, a British countermeasure, a standard 2K Dowding system. Counter an enemy order with a cost of 3 or more. What do you think about this one, Scout?
So the Dowding system, a 2K countermeasure, just counter an enemy order with 3 costs or more. Definitely a huge divide in the Cards Discord, at least, on how good this card will be. Some people saying it's going to completely break the game. Other people saying, uh, it's a 2K,
Well, yeah.
and and I'm in more of that boat as well. I don't think it will be as unplayed as Evasive
No
Action,
way. Yeah.
just because big orders are definitely more common than like deploy effects. Like, it's a lot easier to see a carpet bomb coming rather than, a random
Yeah,
deploy
this has
effect.
to be better than evasive. No way.
But I don't think it'll be a bad card, but I don't think you should run more than like 2 copies in your deck.
Yeah, my issue with this card is that it's not good against aggro.
Um, I would give it 4 stars because it's definitely very strong against like control
For sure.
matchups. It's definitely going to make the control player have to really think about what to play. If they see two credits floating, they may have to play a 3K order just to bait this thing out. I don't.
Well, not much of a bait if you're letting the 3K order get hit.
That's true, but I don't think it's going to be as problematic as a lot of people might make it out to be. Just because,
No, I totally agree with you. My issue with this, and it is what Tadai's Gain was saying as well, who revealed the card, is that like why does this exactly exist? It just seems like unfun and pretty random. Like some matchups it'll be a really bad card, and other matchups it's going to be super amazing, and you're going to lock people out of drawing cards for the rest of the game because this slots right into a hand attack deck and is going to ensure that they probably can't draw cards without hitting the doubting system because pretty much any order that a slower deck is playing that draws is going to be 3K or more. You're going to hit the convoy HXs or the Lend Leases. And what are you really going to pop this with? There's not anything you want to throw away. Like, what are you going to do? Throw away research so that you can draw cards?
now,
Yeah. See, like, if J King said that he would play 4 of these in a tournament setting, and in a tournament setting with more control decks, this card could be extra sick.
one thing I'd like to add, having played this card already extensively, it maybe is not crazy, like even in controlled matchups, just because unlike Ultra, it does not cycle you a card. And if you're sitting on a few of these, it kind of really does end up shattering your own tempo if you try to play these often.
Yeah,
And and even having played this against control decks in testing, I would catch big orders with this, but just be so far behind on tempo that I still couldn't even come back.
yeah, that's the thing about countermeasures is that they can lose you a lot of tempo because good players will be wary of these. They will know that you have leftover 2K, and they will not just walk into this most of the time anyway and just proc it with something that they don't want to lose. They're going to operate their units or they're going to play out more units, and tempo matters kind of a lot in cards compared to other card games because like your HP total is so low, even control decks can kill each other. It doesn't always go to
Yeah.
fatigue.
Not Yeah, not a super powerful card, but it will definitely like make both players really have to think about when and why to use it or when to play around it.
Right. I would totally agree with you on that one. I'm gonna give it 3 stars because I do think that the card is very bad against aggro. However, if you play just like 1 copy and you do happen to draw it late into the game against aggro, this could still be good for sure because you'll block potentially Enigma, Blitzkrieg, Ura, and it'll help you stabilize against those.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't like that the card exists really because it's kind of boring and it's like high risk, high reward. But the risk isn't really that high because it's only at 2K instead of 3K of Ultra, and Ultra is good.
And if you're triggering this, like, and if you're triggering this, that's 2 less credits you had. Maybe that even encourages them to play something big even less. It's just, I don't know. It's really not that great in practice.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Now we have Mare Nostrum, and I liked this card. I think it's very cool. Get +1/+1 to a unit damage jump of the unit as equal defense to your HQ.
Okay, so I'm gonna say it right now. This is my favorite card in the expansion, and I'm almost certain this card will get changed in the future.
You think it's gonna get nerfed?
As in, like, probably reworked.
Okay.
Because having played with this card, okay, well, this card enables a new archetype. Now,
Oh
this,
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I definitely like it. I could want to try it in Commonwealth.
no, not even that.
Like Spirit of Rome?
Yes, this card with Spirit of Rome can pull off some horrific things. On the internal server in real games, I have gotten my HQ hit points up to over 10,000. Combining this with Spirit of Rome. And the win con is basically, I have so many hit points. What could you possibly do to win this game? Before you play everything in fatigue.
Yeah, I mean this sounds wild. I really like the
Now,
card. It +1/+1 is pretty good already.
but the things it enables right now may see this card getting changed in the future. This card, to me, with that specific deck it creates, is a 5-star. It's just, this card is a nightmare, and people will soon see the power of Mare Nostrum.
Yeah, I mean I really liked the card. I was and I still will give it 4 stars, but it could end up being 5. We'll see. Compare it to US Ace, which this you're paying 1K for, but you're getting a lot of lifesteal really out of it, and I feel like this will help a lot versus aggro, either putting it on a small unit to get some heal or on a big unit and getting massive heal. I mean, just compare this to Fortification. Like, it's way cheaper than Fortification, and you're getting a little bit of buff out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, you could be healing 7 or more.
Yeah, definitely a solid card outside of the brokenness. Oh, and one thing to note, it does stack. So if you play 3 Mare Nostrums, it will heal you 3 times. Yes.
Well, are you serious? I mean, that doesn't even really make sense. I mean, that will probably get changed because, yeah, you're gonna lifesteal easily. I mean, you could really seriously lifesteal maybe like 100 or something if you had multiple on there, because that actually doesn't make any sense. So anyway, we have the B-17F, which is like the Pershing, or at least it feels the same.
It's too good.
No, not that it's too good. It feels the same niche, but I kind of don't like that this exists because now I can't Ural. Yeah, I can't Ural factory B7, the other B-17 into Pershing guaranteed now, because now I might get this thing, and this thing's okay. What do you think?
I think it's really good in a ramp bomber deck, which is a deck that not a lot of people play right now, but it's still pretty good. Now, in my mind, I compare this thing to like the big British Blitz Lancaster. This thing kind of blows that thing out of the water if you compare them side by side. Sure, it's 1 less attack, but it's 6 hit points with heavy armor, and it can't be targeted by orders with already in the ramp faction.
Yeah, it does blow it out of the water, but that Lancaster's bad.
I don't know. In the right deck, it's decent.
The card you're comparing it to is so bad, though. I do think it's decent, but I don't think it's going to be even in most ramp decks for US.
So, okay. This is not a universally good card, just like the other Lancaster, but in decks tuned to like kind of ramp up and then close out the game with like overwhelming bombers, this card will be very good in that particular deck. And that's...
So would you be playing Bolster in that deck?
I think Bolster maybe is overkill, and I think in decks like this where you want to get that constant bomber pressure, it would be better to just have another bomber than like trying to put all your eggs in one basket with this. However, there could be decks that try to use Bolster on this and just get something real nasty.
Yeah, because I think if you are going to put all your eggs into one basket, this would be one of the cards to do it because it can't be targeted.
I think this would fit really nicely in one of those decks.
Yeah, into a Bolster deck. I can see it, but putting this into your average US Brit ramp, I just don't know if you can afford to be that greedy. But if you want to take the risk, it's definitely a good card. in slower matchups. You do just enough damage to take out another B-17 or something along those lines, and it's more affordable than Super
Well,
Fortress.
there's a theme with a lot of the cards in this expansion is that they're pretty good for very specific decks. There's not a lot of like universally really good cards. You kind of have to like already have that deck made and then kind of weasel them in there.
Yeah, because I kind of see this for like a special assignment type of deck, and not really the normal rank. Not every
Yeah,
normal
in a
rank.
broad sense, I would give it 3 stars. In a deck tuned around it, I would probably rate it much higher.
I'm just gonna give it a 3 star, and let's move on to Winter
One
Offensive.
star, garbage.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of poop emojis on this one, so clearly you feel the same as most people. I'm actually willing to give this thing a 2 star because it goes into one deck, Soviet Britain
Yeah,
control.
yeah, you just stall. It's a stall card for something that plays no units.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, wiping your own board and hitting your own face, that's painful. And this is way too much damage for like a winter
Yeah,
warfare type of thing. Winter warfare is just way better than
yeah.
this for the purpose of doing some sort of combo. But it's certainly a really great board clear. I mean, it's not like really good compared to carpet bombing, but carpet bombing is just so good that this is kind of like another one.
It's a decent card for a mediocre deck, and then that's the strongest you'll ever see out of this card, which is why I think it's a bad card.
Yeah, but because I think it will be, fine in a tier 3-ish deck, I'll give it 2 stars on the winter warfare. The art is kind of weird. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way. So, 60th Infantry Regiment. Now, this is quite the unique guy. 3-5 when this unit is fully repaired. Add a copy of it to your support line. Scott, I'm sure you have some plans with this.
I don't think so. I'll be honest. This card was changed quite a bit in IT, and I didn't really get to test the latest version of it, but I don't think it works with We Can Do It. However, it does work with things like maybe Tactical Retreat, Cadet Nurse Corps, Campaign Trail, Tamanskaya, stuff like that, or even that US.
The 17th
Yeah,
Infantry,
yeah,
3-3 that heals.
yeah.
Yeah, if this works with We Can Do It, then I see this card being okay. But if this needs to be damaged and it needs to be one of those cards that says specifically fully repair, then wow, I don't think this card is good at all. Because compare it to like a counter offensive deck, because you probably are going to need to damage this yourself because your opponent's not going to walk into this if you're playing it. You're going to need to damage it yourself. You're going to then need to heal it. I'd rather just buff my dude up by like +10/+10
Yeah.
with counter offensive than make another 3-5 in the support line infantry.
What's nice about this card is that while it is not good now, it is a seed for the future, for a future archetype.
And I definitely could see that coming
And
for
we
sure.
see 1939 do that a lot. They'll add like a hint of an archetype that might come in the next expansion,
Yeah, like Italy
but
control.
it's not very great at this moment. But
Yeah, I don't like it really. If it works, what We Can Do It, it's okay. But or other type of like health buffs. But I mean, I was thinking 2 stars, but like realistically, I think literally nobody will play this at high ladder, and if nobody's gonna play it, then I think it just has to be a 1 star.
I,
So I'll 1 star this, and I mean, hey, please prove me wrong and make a good meme deck with this.
I personally give it 2 just because I honestly it looks like a fun card to play with. Just kind of cloning itself.
Oh, for sure. Like if you get 9 of these out on the battlefield, take a screenshot. I'll upvote
This
it.
is an S tier card in casual mode.
Yeah, some new players are gonna rage about it. So, sneak attack, 8K, destroy target unit, remove copies of it from its owner's hand and deck. Kind of like Blade of the Samurai, but on steroids.
This card is interesting. I think
Yeah,
it can be very feast or famine, depending on the situation, for sure.
I agree completely. This will be really bad in some
For
matchups.
example, it's not going to be the best removal to use on an elite, but it's still a removal. You know, it's at that point, it's a blade that costs 2k more.
Which is a pretty hefty
Or
price more,
you
though.
could say hit like an opponent's Focke-Wulf, you know, the one that cycles itself,
Yeah, the draw
mm-hmm.
card.
and then get rid of all of them. Or even hit like a Panther A, get rid of that second Panther A. Even what is it, the Panzer 4G, I think? Or no.
or the Sherman is the big one I've heard.
Yeah, Shermans could be really good.
Because any deck playing Sherman is going to be playing 4 of them.
Or I was even thinking like if you're up against a Japan burn deck, hitting like a Hayabusa with it and get rid of a lot of future headache.
Yeah, you could reduce a lot of damage.
Basically, just really good to hit the first copy of which you're expecting a lot of that card coming.
So, with all this being said, ultimately, I think Sneak Attack is really quite bad, and I'm gonna give it a 2 stars from me. I think Sneak Attack is bad, and if they wanted to push this card and actually make it played, it should also destroy copies on the battlefield and not just hand and deck. So the reason that I think it deserves this buff is because Blade of the Samurai is only an okay card right now. Blade of the Samurai has been pushed out of the majority of Japanese decks. Even like resistance control decks, you'll only see one at most. Because a lot of the big units are just untargetable. And in general, there's more aggro these days. So paying so much just to kill a unit is just not efficient with Blade of the Samurai. And then this is even more expensive. And at 8K, hitting low cost four of cards, they might have already played multiples out. So the chance of you actually removing all 4 copies of Sherman or whatever, Mido or something like that, I think is really, really low because you have to play this like late on. And yeah, you could ramp into it or something, but then you would have to play Japanese Ally, and I don't think that's good. So I really want to see this card buffed to destroy on the field. But right now it's just like very niche. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll go up against Soviet Britain control and kill all their first rifles.
I think I'd have to agree. The only deck that I could see running that card effectively is like an AoE Japan control deck, and that's about it, really.
This, on the other hand, the Yamagata Regiment, 2/3, 2 cost, 0 op, has Ambush, Blitz, and Fury if you have no cards in hand. Let me just get this out of the way. This is a 4 stars, cool card, and Japan has been needing a 0 operation cost 2 drop because they have plenty of 1s, but really no 2s. And even if this text is only active like 10% of the time, the baseline of the card is actually good. And the text, when it's active, makes the card kind of overpowered if it is active.
I think I'd have to agree with you there because even without the text, it is it's a gap filler card for Japan, being a 2/3 with no operation cost just on its own, even without the text. And
Yeah,
I heard Darkness say earlier that's just it fills a hole that needs filling.
Yeah, I agree with that totally because I need a good 0 op 2 drop. Is there one?
They have the 2/2 Fury unit, but because it has 2 hit points, it is.
Yeah, it dies to root out an Eagle Claw.
Yeah.
So that card is not very good. This card, on the other hand, is way, way better. And I'm not sure if every single Jagro is going to play this. I wonder if it could even... No, there's not really any mid-range Japanese decks at all. It's pretty much only purely aggro or the pure control, like resistance, slow control type variants. So this has to go in Jagro, if anything. And... I mean, I'm probably playing all 3. I mean, what are you cutting for this?
I think you could play it in regular Jagro. I don't know if you would really want to replace Akita.
That's where I would go to, I think, is replacing
I don't
Akita.
know, really. I don't know.
Or Mido.
Yeah, I'm not a big Jagro player, so I don't think I could say, but I go up against a lot of Jagro, and a very common strategy with Jagro is to literally just dump your hand out. So I think this thing may trigger more than people might initially think, playing with that vomit your hand strategy.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't even have to like count on it or anything. It's like I said, it's just an added bonus already. It's fine, good even, and it's just straight up overpowered if you do get the text to activate. So yeah, nice card, 4 stars easily. And this card though, it manages to be even better. We have the long-range desert group. 5k your units get when this unit deals damage to a unit, destroy it, i.e. your commando procs. The shots will just be one-shotting everything, and this card is an instant 5-star for me. This is terrifying.
I'm personally a little torn on this card. I think I would give it 3 stars, and I'll give you my reasoning. So unlike other big expensive AoE buff cards compared to something like the Alliance or We Can Do It, this does not increase your like actual attack of units, and it does not increase the survivability of those units. So this is a pretty big credit commitment to not increase the actual raw stats of your unit. So you can't close a game out by hitting face, and you can't make your units any tankier. However,
Well, yeah, but you're gonna kill
it
everything.
can help you clear the board very easily, especially with things like Commando. Even with a lot of those
Just
US
the high.
units that do like random ticks of damage around the board, like the 1-3 infantry or some of their artillery even. It could be really nice with those.
Oh wait, I actually just realized that it's not only British units; it hits your ally nation too. So that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of that makes it even better than I initially thought. Actually,
The options there. And but because I think that this card is kind of restricted to, it's pretty much only for board clearing. It's not like use your typical AoE buffs, and that it can close out the game and increase your survivability. It's only good for board clearing, and you also have to like attack with units afterwards, or get a bunch of commando ticks. And
all right. So my thought process here is that this is definitely a 5 star because let's go back to like the Blade of the Samurai. Even if you hit this on just a very conservative small board of just a guard and a commando or something, now you have 2 units that are instantly massive threats that can kill a unit of any size. And yeah, if you and 5K, it's not that expensive. It's pretty pricey, but it's definitely not Rule Britannia levels of expensive. And if you can keep those commandos alive, this is just permanent board clear, and you're never going to keep a board alive again
mm-hmm.
after they play long range desert group. I feel like if you can't clear those commandos, and this is on you if you just drop this on turn 5 on like 2 1 health commandos, then that's you taking a really really big risk. But I think the good plays that you're going to see with this card is you're not going to play it until they've been buffed by T, or you're not going to play it until you can play this and a bunch of 1 cost orders in the same turn to start clearing the board, because you're already playing all those 1 cost orders, and it's so darn strong that it might entirely replace Commonwealth as a win condition. Because if you just keep your commandos alive, you can never ever lose with this card. The efficiency of the removal that it gives you is too high, and the only real like board clear in the game is To the Last Man, and this is like on To the Last Man levels to me, but can come out way way earlier. You're probably, especially in a defensive deck like Commandos, you're almost never dead by this point. So I don't know. The card
Yeah,
seems really really annoying, and even if you just have it on like 1 commando, just have that one smokescreen guy have the ability, like the very scary RNG ability to shoot down a unit of any size. Like yeah, like even if you hit one, I love it.
yeah. This card definitely removes the commando's biggest weakness of wide high HP units where they just won't have enough cards in their deck to actually close out the game.
Yeah, and that's usually in my experience how commandos lose is they fatigue themselves, they can't win with Commonwealth, and then that's it. Like they may have a good amount of HP, but they still only have 2 attack, and you just eventually they either kill themselves to fatigue or you eventually run them over. But yeah, you're never keeping a board alive with this, and yeah, very interesting. Like yeah. So on to the next one, Rally, the German limited. Your units get +1 attack this turn. Remove pin on them. Draw a card. 2K. So this is quite situational, but honestly, I think that this card is a really great option that is going to surprise people. And when it does happen to you,
Yeah,
it's going to be devastating.
I I think this might be a card that you would run a single copy of just to have that tech option.
Oh, exactly. I can see myself playing 1 copy of this because cycling, yes, I know, no duh, that it's worse than a Blitzkrieg on the surface, but it does something so unique that no other card does to enable Blitzkrieg as well.
And it's really not much of a commitment to have it in your deck either, because it does cycle itself.
Yeah, it's a very low commitment. +1 attack and draw a card it's yeah, you wouldn't play that, but on the off chance that you do unpin, it will be just straight up game winning. Like somebody is going to count on the
Yep.
Monty to save them, and then you're gonna rally, and then the game's just gonna end then and there because you're gonna blitzkrieg your units too, and something like that. Three is definitely way too much, but I like just having one tech option of this to beat those AOE decks that otherwise would be a pretty bad matchup for you. And this could just completely give you quite a few percentage points in that matchup. And even if you don't, again, the effect is not horrible.
I would give it 3 stars too, just because it's nice to have that option. We don't really have an option like this in the game, and I think that reason alone might be worth just running a copy.
Totally. And I give it 3 stars. I thought I was going to give it two, but then the more I thought about it, I actually think, if it sees play in a lot of German decks, even as only one, that's good enough for me, 3 stars. What isn't really good enough for me and what I really don't see being in a lot of decks is this here T60 tank. This is just way too slow. Like 4 cost, 2/4 guard that gives you another bad card in your hand.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because I mean, the T34-942, while not pure trash, is unplayed, right? Like it's not a good. It's a 1-star card. It's okay, but yeah, you're having to pay an overpriced amount for just this 2/4 guard, and then you get an overpriced tank as well. It's a lot of value, but it's so much credit cost for that value. So I'd rather be playing, like recursion cards, like the First Rifles or the Night Witches, something like that.
I don't think this card is very good at all, and I don't even think the T34 is not very good.
Exactly, and
I'd have to agree with you. This thing either needs a bigger body or just be cheaper, I think.
Yeah, if they buff this a little bit, having a guard tank right now is pretty good because it means it can't get half tracked, but the body's just too weak.
And it can quickly switch to the offensive, which is nice.
Yeah, with a tank with 1 op cost. So I see this having potential, but because ultimately literally no one will play it, it just has to be a 1-star because no one's gonna play this thing. Yeah, a small buff in the future and to either of the cards, right? Because just like how Surprise Attack got buffed, it buffed that other little 1/1 from Japan. So if either of the cards get buffed in the future, I could see it. Reorganize, I think, is like literally the worst card in the entire game.
Really? Oh my god! Why do so many people hate this card? I think this card is
because you're -1ing yourself.
Yeah, but that's not always a bad thing. Especially this card is very, very good in combo decks and very good in control decks.
Explain.
And here's my reasoning. Well, -1ing yourself, it might seem really bad on the surface, but with a lot of these like combo and control decks, you have so many draw options already that it might be better just to do this to not overdraw yourself in a lot of situations, and it's free. Or say you have a really big card like in Japan, you get your last rights at the start, you can put that sucker right back in the deck for later, and then that kind of protects it from discard maybe. Or say you're to the last man, got hit by 2 Black Watches, you play Reorganize for 0k, put it back in your deck, cleanse it of that debuff, and there you go. Like, this protects valuable cards from discard. It cleanses things from Blackwatch.
Yeah, like with Catalina from US, I always liked that mechanic of being able to put back your Blackwatch cards and undo that debuff, so I hear you.
And this thing is 0k. Yes, it does take away a card from your hand, but that is not always a bad thing. There are so many situations with these combos and control decks where you have hands that are just full of draw cards, and you're like, oh my god, if I play anything, I'm going to overdraw. And you actually do need to thin your hand a little bit. And things with combo.
That is something that, just like with US Ramp, if I play War Bonds on 5, I overdraw a lot, but I still just do it anyway and take the overdraw because, like, whatever, it's worth getting that ramp on time. So, sure, that's a benefit.
Yeah, but I don't really think this is for ramp.
Right. I mean, you don't want to play Japan.
I mean,
ramp anyway because that's just not there's no big units.
I would give this card a 4-star just because I didn't even I didn't even talk about how great this card is in combo yet. This card is a godsend for combo decks.
So maybe the Dinah OTK deck.
Yeah, that's the main combo right now with the rush productions and things like Dinah to help you find things. But like, say you have like 2 enigmas in hand, you never want 2 enigmas in hand. You just put one back, and then it just vastly smooths out the experience for combo
I see what you're saying.
and just almost lets you put the cards in order.
Well, I mean, being able to put away an Enigma is a great example because then the next one, then the Enigma draws way more off the first one. But this is a fat 1 star for me, man. I think it's trash.
The card does exactly what its name says. It reorganizes your deck to how you want it. And I think that's very useful.
All right. I mean, we'll see. That's the biggest disagreement we've had by far, so far. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. So here we have at all cost, Soviet destroy friendly unit, deal 2 damage to everything.
I think it's a lot better than Winter Offensive.
Well, yeah, but is it better than Winter Warfare? I'm not sure here. Destroying a friendly unit is definitely a very high cost, and you would, which makes sense given the name, but you would, of course, only play this card in a deck that wants to destroy its own units. So, maybe in decks that are making the T-34 or whatever that is tank, the ones that destroy themselves at the end of the turn anyway, or with mobile defense that otherwise would destroy themselves, you can, whatever, just go ahead and destroy them and get 2 AoE for 3 damage, which is a lot for 3k, but it is hitting your own unit.
Where I think this card is actually going to be really good, is in ally nations for Japan aggro burn.
Right. I mean, this hitting face, that's like a legitimate advantage for sure. And you can kill your own destruction effect units, but I don't know. I don't really have too much trouble killing those the vast majority of the time. They're already so easily destroyed. And I mean, sometimes it's nice to wipe your own board, but like most of the time, how great is this? It'll help a lot against artillery, which otherwise beats Japan aggro usually.
No, you're gonna play
but like destroy. Okay, so it's like I'm gonna destroy my own Mito, but like it has 3 health. Like how hard was it to destroy it anyway? Or like what do you have a different vision for this, like a combo deck?
I do really think it's really solid for Jagro. And, there's a reason Desperate Measures takes away a credit slot. Having 2 damage to all.
Yeah, I mean, Desperate Measures is like a 5-star card easily, despite the drawback.
Realized what?
But this condition is
Yes.
for a specific
Yes.
deck only, I think. For a very specific deck only. And I don't think that deck is good or there yet. But I don't... this card's not trash. It's not pointless. And it could get better in the future. So I'm going to give it a 2-star. But this is really a niche card overall. It might be in that, like, Soviet Britain.
In my eyes, I see it. And even compared to something like Code of Bushido, which is 3k kill a fighter.
Well, Code of Bushido's bad too, though, right?
I think this is better than Code of Bushido, but
yeah, I suppose. We'll just have to see about that one. What's not situational at all?
It's niche, but for its niche, I think I would give it 3 stars.
Okay, all right, we'll see. But what's not niche is this 5 Panzergrenadier. Infantry 2/2 with Pincer Fury costing only 2, and yeah, I mean this seems like at least one belongs in every single Germany deck ever, maybe right now, because being able to give Fury is obviously it's going to be great for a Blitzkrieg unit to do a ton of damage. It's going to be great for a giant unit in a big German deck, so that you can hit face twice or clear board.
This card is going to get nerfed. I can almost guarantee it. This is a 5-star hands down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna give this 4 stars, but I guess if I see it being played as in every German deck, even if it's just as a 1 copy, then this has to be a 5-star, because just think about things like Zis, that artillery. That's giving you Blitz for 4, and Blitz and Fury are both pretty comparably good. However, I would say that the Fury is going to be better in most most of these situations, especially with these high attack, like German tanks, and the fact that this is just way cheaper than this.
Now, no. Think of how horrific this card is going to be in bolster decks.
Yeah, I mean, with zero op costs.
Like, that's 2K to make your unit that operates for free attack twice. That is.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be doing so much damage out of nowhere with this card. It seems really, really hard to play around, and because it's so cheap, you can even spend other credits bouncing a guard or
It's.
doing whatever it is that you need to do to make this gain value, and you get a body on top of it.
And compare this to like Burst of Fire, which only works on fighters. This is a 2K unit that, like, oh my god.
It's standard.
And you can use it on any target.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems like a just bread and butter, amazing card for every deck. I don't think anyone wouldn't want it.
It works in aggro, it works in OTK, it works in mid range. Like, it's so good.
I agree. So on to the Spitfire Mark II. 3/5 has +2 attack if guarded. So another Spitfire plane. If you wanted to play that archetype, and let me just say that Spitfire is a terrible archetype at the top of the ladder. Nobody plays it. It is really bad. However, this would be the best Spitfire.
I don't really play a lot of Spitfire decks, but yeah, I agree. Even outside of a Spitfire deck, this thing has really solid stats for a fighter.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 5/5 a huge majority of the time compared to the 6/6 Italian one, which is harder to do.
Yeah, and compared to like a Yak 3, and you're running Britain, so it's not hard to get a guard.
Oh, it's nothing. You're already playing so many.
Yeah. And compared to the 1/6 that has similar text, this is a fighter, so it can attack anywhere, so it's already way better than the infantry cousin.
Oh, well, yeah, but that card is epically trash. I've literally never seen anyone play it. This card might just bring Spitfire to some level of relevance, even at high tier. And the fact that it's just cheap is nice because, well, cheaper than the other Spitfires, because the Spitfires are just way too big and dumb. Like, they're just too slow. And this one coming in at 4 is just a really important, a cheaper unit for the deck, I think.
And the nice thing about this too is that it fills a gap on the curve that these Spitfire decks had as well.
Oh yeah, totally. So, like, this card, when discounted by 1, is going to be at only 3. Or wait, discounts them by 2. Discounts them by 2. So actually, this is going to count the RAF ground crew does. So if your RAF ground crew doesn't die, which is like a gigantic if you can keep that alive, then you could just overwhelm the enemy's base and kill them too fast.
Now, I believe RAF ground crew is 3K, right?
That's correct.
So if you played this on curve on turn 3, the RAF ground crew, you could play 2 of these the following turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not going to happen very much because it's a limited, but if it does, you might just win. Or at the very least, you could drop the 6/6 on 4.
And you would be effectively dropping 2 6/6s on turn 4.
Yeah, and I think, if you just attack enemy's face, you're going to win from there. But again, it just hinges on that massive if of do you draw your RAF ground crew, and then does it actually survive? So, I don't know. I don't know if the deck will be consistent enough to be relevant. But if I were you guys, and if I were playing Spitfire, I would play that 1/5 5th Brigade or whatever he's called, that guard. Try to use him to keep your RAF alive, and then just go from there and start dumping out these Spitfires and play it more like an aggro deck and less like a control deck.
I honestly might even give it 4 stars just because I think this is a solid card outside of Spitfire decks.
For like draft, yeah. 3 stars for me, though. I still don't think the deck's going to be too relevant. What is going to be super relevant, though, is Panzer 3F. Wow.
Germany got spoiled.
Yeah, no kidding. 3/3 for 3. Deployment, your other tanks get +1/+1, as well as your German tanks have blitz. There was some confusion on the main stream about like what order do you have to play the tanks to have blitz, but this is a passive. It should just give any German tank, no matter when it's played, blitz. So I'm just going to assume that that's how it works. And even if it doesn't, whatever. I mean, most of the tanks already have blitz anyway if you're playing tank aggro. But the +1/+1 is like the way better aspect. And this is gonna bring Germany tank like to the forefront of the meta. It is still in the meta, but more as a counter-offensive deck, and
Hmm.
less as like how it was maybe intended. Now, small nitpick, but like, doesn't this not have to have blitz on it? Like, because your German tanks have blitz, so it's kind of like double blitz on it.
Uh, yeah, I guess so, may, but perhaps this is future proofing the card for like text clears or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just being nitpicky, but yeah, maybe if silence is ever in the game, like from Hearthstone or something like that. So, I mean, this card is a 5-star from me. This is gonna make German Tank Tier 1 is my prediction.
Yeah, I think this card is extremely powerful in both the really aggro German blitz tanks and the more mid-range style blitz tanks that use like land of the free to get really big tanks out early.
Sure, I mean the +1/+1 is so crazy. I mean that's half of a alliance, but with it hits your U.S. tanks too, or your whatever your ally is. So you're like your Greyhounds, and you know it's just so good is the fact that it can buff your 3 health tanks, of which there are a lot, even the 1-drop tanks, to 4 health, which means you're going to be out of range for carpet bombing. So this just seems like such a resilient and consistent deck that can compete with
Mm-hmm.
probably any deck in the game. Like you would have to have a very, very specific tailored deck to beat this German tank deck very consistently, I feel like.
Yeah, this card with Rally, with the new Fury Pincer, all three of those combined are gonna just add so much life into German tanks all across the board, I think.
For sure. Like this is just such a yeah, it's just like a strong burly deck. Like you're not susceptible to BS, you know? Like you can unpin yourself, you can survive AoE now. Uh you're not going to get ran over by other aggro decks because you're also an aggro deck. You should be able to fight back, and you're going to be able to just deal huge bursts of damage with things like Blitzkrieg, be any sort of maybe healing Mare Nostrum deck that could start popping up, something like that. You should probably still be able to do enough damage. So yeah, I mean, even with the triple heal thing that you say works, we'll see, we'll see. But this is you're for sure immediately including both copies of this into any sort of tank deck like that, and yeah, the whole +1/+1, even to your Greyhounds or whatever, crazy.
And another great thing I like about this card too, for the memes deck side of things, is that you could get Blitz Tigers with this if you really wanted to. And that's just fun.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, you could make 8 or 7 damage come out of nowhere with this card, and I don't know, maybe a ramp or something like that. But either way, you want to use it, which I know you're gonna want to use it the meme way, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, crazy card. I think 5 stars without a doubt.
This is arguably way easier to pull off than Exploit the Gap.
Yeah, like that's a trash meme. This is like a good meme, and just a good all around great card that's going to see a lot of play in the meta, I think. And I'll definitely be trying it out. We'll see. We'll see if it has a big showing in OCC or if it is not actually good, or I'm just if we're just both overhyping it. But I'm predicting easy 5 stars.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah.
let's move on. Shore Bombardment, standard US 4K order. Choose one, deal 3 damage to a unit, or give a unit +2/+3.
Um, just gonna say right out the gate, I think it's a solid 3-star card. Obviously, not going to fit in every deck. I think it could slot pretty nicely in a ramp deck, perhaps. Maybe not all 4 copies, but a couple copies. Just kind of have that flexibility there. And with a USA, you do tend to have a little bit of credit flexibility, so the 4K cost probably is not the worst thing.
Sure. Coming into this, I was gonna give it either 1 or 2 stars, and I will still. I'll be a little generous in my mind. I'm gonna give this 2 stars. The point you make about credit flexibility is relevant. 4K tends to be a big gap to fill for a lot of decks, And I think that as 1939 has admitted themselves, they've overpriced some of these flexible cards by a pretty significant margin. And this card, yeah, it would probably be very strong at 3K, but I don't think it would be overpowered. I mean, it'd probably be like 4 or 5 star cards, sure, but I don't think it would be like game breaking or anything. But yeah, at 4, it can be more expensive from the people, or you can get
Mm-hmm.
+2, +3 onto anything, like an artillery, of course. Is what's giving it some hope, and which is why I'm going to give it 2 stars, because you can give bombers or artillery +2, 3, and normally most cards do not do that. But yeah, it just kind of continues the trend. U.S. just does not have the single target removal that other nations have. Random destruction is kind of their
Mm-hmm.
theme, and this is just not good. It's serviceable. Sometimes you really need 3 damage to kill the enemy's artillery or whatever, but Now, Allied research effort, dude. What is this? What is this card? Like, it's so random. Choose one, add a random U.S. or a British unit or order with cost of 7 more to your hand. Wow, that is a lot of ors.
Yeah, I
Could have a whole kayak with all those ors.
uh I don't see serious players running this card.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. This is a 1 star for me. I'm not playing this.
It looks fun. It looks really fun to play if you're not taking it seriously.
Yeah, if you're into gambling.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it is a 1 cost card, which makes it like easy to fit in when you would otherwise be floating credits. But I don't know. There's like a lot of specific bad things that you could easily get off this.
I think this card would be better if you were running it in as an ally in another deck.
Yeah, I think this pretty much has to be played as ally because there's some orders that are way more tailored to the British.
You're gonna go for the orders.
Yeah, because the units, there's so many trash units from the U.S. mostly, or like things like coastal gun that you really don't want. So you're gonna go for orders the vast majority of the time, and those orders are more for the British. So yeah, you could play it in British ramp, I suppose.
Yeah, between like Commonwealth and Rule Britannia.
Yeah, and it is a 1K order, so like that gives you another order. So like I guess you could do U.S. Ally Commandos and try something with this, but ultimately I think zero serious players are really gonna play it, so it has to be a 1 star. But like it could be cool. It's just random.
I I'm kind of curious of how like the card rarity goes into this, or even if it goes into it at all. Like, would you have a way higher chance of getting a Lend-Lease because it's limited?
I would imagine definitely not.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Hopefully not,
Eh,
because that would.
you can get like multiple products off the commando. Give it a shot. I guess there's a small chance it could be like a 2 star card or something, but I don't know. Seems really random.
I will play this card just because I'm a more casual player. I think this is a very fun casual card, but yeah,
For sure, though, like you could get things like 2 copies of Rule Britannia and just make your opponent rage. So I guess that's cool.
yeah, definitely in a competitive sense, it's a 1 star, but it's fun,
What is not a one
bad and
star?
fun.
Yeah, what is not a 1 star though is this defend in depth. France 3K order deal damage to target unit equal to the cards in the enemy hand. Just like hammer.
Yeah, with no target restriction, obviously can't hit HQ, but
Right. Or like sabotage. This is 1K more than sabotage, but you don't have to play a heavy resistance theme for this to be good. And um, yeah, this has to be like a really good card, I think, because even against aggro, they have low health units, so you're still probably killing it.
I would have to agree with you. This definitely has a lot more universal use than sabotage,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. I think. Are you playing 3 in your Japanese resistance deck with this, or is sabotage still better, which is not always even seen in that deck?
yeah, and in some of the worst scenarios, it's like a from the people.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, from the people, yeah, I mean, from the people, like, man, it's like whatever. No one really plays that in a serious setting. It's like a 2 star card, but it gets the job done. Sometimes you just need to remove that aggro unit.
Uh,
So I would play it.
I think this works perfectly fine outside of resistance. because
No, I agree.
yeah.
Average hand size tends to be pretty large-ish, and even if this is only doing 5, I would call that a 5-star card, just an order that does 5 damage to any unit, but it is not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It is not exactly consistent because it's going to depend on their hand size, but certainly with resistance synergies, their hands will be really big, or even just phony war on its own.
Yeah, that definitely is really nice for resistance. They kind of do lack that hard removal.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, this could just be like Blade of the Samurai, but for 3K. I mean, now that's a really good card. This makes sneak attack look like some hot garbage right now. This defend and depth card. So definitely try it. I mean, definitely try putting 3 into your resistance deck, or just like a Soviet France kind of deck, maybe with the OTK if the Zhytomyr works with that. So yeah, it just seems like a really good card. I'm gonna give it 4 stars though, because it's not exactly like France is not exactly something that you play for removal at all.
Yeah, I think 4 is fair.
Okay, very cool. So that's the last card actually. So yeah, I mean,
Cool.
thanks everybody for watching the video. Let's find out. Watch the OCC on the 13th. Let's see what cards are right. Let's see if Scout or I were right. And yeah, let us know.
I've been Scout.
And this has been Vinny. So yeah, guys, let us know your opinions